Alright guys, today I'm going to be reviewing Mystery Mine at Dollywood. This is the Gerstlauer Eurofighter here, and going into it, I thought, this might be a really good ride. It could be the third best in the park for all I knew, but let me tell you, it was not even close to the third best here. This is one of the most mind-bogglingly stupid rides I've ever ridden, and there are redeeming qualities to it. It's not a complete train wreck, but for the most part, it's pretty bad, and I'm going to get into all of that in this review. So, for starters, it's visually impressive. You've got this creepy facade where it houses the lift hill. You have this crow out front. That's definitely my favorite bit of theming on the ride. This crow out front tells like weird, dark jokes and all this stuff. It's really creepy, but it's really cool. The queue itself isn't very impressive. There's a couple like mining things. The song that plays in the queue is actually the best part of theming on the whole ride, I think. It's a really weird song, but I like it. I actually kind of want to do a parody of it now that I'm thinking of it, but anyways, you're going to board these trains. These trains are not very good. They're bulky over-the-shoulder restraints, similar to what you're going to find on SpongeBob and Nickelodeon Universe in Mall of America. These restraints really don't give any room for any sort of forces. They're just bulky, obstruct your view, and I don't know, they're not the most painful things in the world. They're not the Volare restraints or anything, that's for sure, but they're not good either. So let's get into this layout. You're going to start off by, and there are spoilers for this thing because a lot of it's indoors, so maybe this isn't the best review to watch if you don't want spoilers, but assuming you do, and trust me, there's not a lot of good stuff to spoil with this. You're going to start off with an okay drop in the dark. You don't really see it coming unless you're literally one of the people about to get on the ride, so pretty much everyone sees this coming. So kind of ruins the whole aspect of it being a surprise, but it's all right. Doesn't give any airtime, but kind of throws you forward a little, which is kind of a common theme on this. No airtime, but just kind of getting thrown forward. You're going to pop up, again, get thrown forward kind of uncomfortably, and then you're going to turn to the left, and you're going to pass all this theming, kind of do this trick track. This whole section's actually really dumb in my opinion. The theming wasn't that impressive in my opinion. I thought Fire Chaser Express, Big Bear Mountain even had a lot better theming than this. You're going to turn around and then you're going to hit another drop. This one also being pretty mild, not really giving anything, although you do get a good head chopper with these saw blades. So that's one of the best moments of theming on the ride. You're going to turn around, see some effects that should be working but aren't, and maybe that was part of it. Maybe there were effects that weren't working. I know the fire that's coming up later definitely wasn't working for me, but anyways, you're going to start up the first lift hill. This is a normal vertical lift hill. The drop off of this is another forceless one. You don't really get anything off of this. You're going to kind of do a straightaway and then turn to the left and go down one of the only decent moments of the ride. It's this drop off of here. You get a little floater. It's all right. It's nothing crazy, but it's better than what's been happening. So, I mean, we'll take any airtime at this point. You're going to go through a bunch of mild dips and turns that really just feel like they're from a Wild Mouse, if I'm being honest. And it's not very good. It's mild, and especially with the over-the-shoulder restraints, it's not pleasant either. There's no theming going on during this part of the ride. It's just kind of there to extend the ride's time, so that's kind of a shame. I know it might have been better with the turn there that they had to take out, but left in there for show, that probably would have been better because it looked a bit more extreme, but I heard it was just brutally rough with that in there, so I understand why they took that out. Then you're going to hit the next indoor section, and here's where you start up the big lift hill, and you'll hear like some random noises and all that. I think you heard a crow at some point in there. And there's actually this cool effect where they show like this glass or whatever coming down on you and it breaks, and that's actually pretty cool. I believe there's supposed to be fire up here, but there definitely wasn't any fire when I was there. And after this, you're going to head down the big drop. This is definitely an underwhelming Beyond Vertical drop. I know it's a Beyond Vertical drop, but this isn't nowhere near as good as drops like tantrums or impulses, because those over the shoulder restraints pretty much kill any airtime you're going to get. And also, I feel like the lift hill kind of stops before the drop, so you definitely don't have as much momentum going over it, I felt like. And overall, it's cool that you have basically a full body chopper, given that the drop's indoors, but overall, it's just not very forceful, pretty forgettable. But then you hit probably the most thrilling part of the ride. It's this double inversion. You hit a 0G roll. You don't really do a whole lot on this 0G roll, but it's something at least. And then you hit the dive loop, and you stall up here for a good amount of time. It's a good moment of hang time. It's not anything crazy, especially since you have those over-the-shoulder restraints. If it had lap bars, this ride would be a lot better. Or just more forgiving over-the-shoulder restraints, frankly, would be a lot better. But yeah, you get a little hang time on here, but nothing too crazy. Then you dive back down, get kind of thrown forward again, like I was talking about earlier. And then, yeah, that's the ride. Then you're getting off and probably being pretty disappointed. What also sucks is this ride constantly has some of the longest lines in the park, which is very annoying. I even had quick queue, and yeah, that was just very annoying, waiting in a 20-minute line for this thing with quick queue, only to get this type of experience. Row on this ride, I rode it twice. It really doesn't matter if you go in the front or the back. They're both equally as disappointing. They're both kind of rough, kind of give the same forces. Overall, just don't be picky about the row you get, because the ops here, they're slow. These are definitely the worst ops in the park, I thought. And there's not a lot you can do about this ride. It's low capacity, only 8 people per train, so not a lot. I will say they had a bunch of trains on the course, probably like 8 or so even, I want to say. They had a lot going, and I know they have a lot of block zones, so that's why they can do it. But yeah, it was impressive how many trains they ran on this. I had like Six Flags Darien Lake to put a second train on Tantrum, but yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So good job, Dollywood, for at least having a good amount of trains on this thing. This ride isn't very smooth at all. It's very janky. It feels like an aero coaster kind of, and not a good one. Definitely not like Tennessee Tornado in the same park. That thing is way, way smoother than this thing. It's weird how the aero in the park is like butter smooth, and this thing's really rough. It's really janky. The track is kind of shaky, which usually doesn't bother me, and it really didn't for this. It's just what bothered me about this ride is it had potential. It looked like it had great theming. The layout could have been great, but it just really didn't do a lot for me. So for Mystery Mine's final score, I'm going to give it a 377 out of 1,000. I know that sounds pretty low. It might be the worst coaster in the park besides Whistlepunk Chaser. I don't know. It might be better than Dragonflyer and Blazing Fury. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's definitely nowhere near as good as Fire Chaser Express, though. Overall, the theming was pretty lackluster compared to what I was expecting. And the layout, I mean, there's a few good moments, but most of it is on par with like a Wild Mouse, if I'm being honest. So that was definitely disappointing. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of this ride down in the comments below. Are you a fan of this, or do you think it's dumb like me? Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.